Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me on Hollywood Live. You know, it is truly the season for giving. And my guest today is giving his time to the world to make it a healthier place. I am talking about the one and only.
I'm great. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Well, coming all the way from Australia. I know you're in Australia on a movie set right now,
Yes.
and it's like unbelievable. I don't know. I'm getting the internet thing. Hopefully, we can get this done quickly. But you know, you have just been named, and I want to get this Partners in the Health. I'm sorry, Partners in Health names Winston Duke the first global ambassador. Congratulations on that.
Thank you
And
so much.
why was this initiative so important to your agenda right now?
Well, it's important because finding a way to um, prove that healthcare is something that is a human right is a really big thing for me. I started my work with Partners in Health, raising awareness for vaccines and for um, countries to not have patents on vaccines, so different places all over the world could have access to these vaccines and create them themselves. Because often a lot of the conversation around healthcare is often the wrong conversation. Um, we're talking about if you know science is true. We know science is true. We
Right.
know the science behind these things are true. What we need is access. What we need is for people to have the opportunity to get vaccines and things like that. Because even take a look at the polio vaccine. Polio's pretty much been cured for a long time, and there
Right.
are places in the world where they just recently got the vaccine because larger countries had the rights to all the contracts to get the vaccines early. So
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you there because it's very true, but it's so amazing how in 2023, because that's where we are, that there is still that kind of racism in healthcare. I mean,
100%.
you can't call it anything else. You know, your background is from Trinidad and Tobago, one of the best places on earth. It's beautiful down there. And with family ties to that particular culture, have you really felt that this was something that was needed in that part of the world as well? Because we always think of those, Trinidad as being a very upwardly mobile economy, which it is, but still, I'm sure that there are those kind of inequities there as well.
Oh, of course. I think the inequities are definitely in Trinidad and Tobago, but they're everywhere in the world at the moment. And I grew up in a community where the people around me were very afraid of healthcare and the health system, rightfully so, because the healthcare system internationally has, in a lot of ways, betrayed people of color and people in need for a very long time. So there's all these stigmas around can we trust, and that has only led to me losing my grandmother, me losing people around me losing a lot of my family members to things like diabetes. So the stigma around healthcare and access to healthcare has been something that's been really close to me. And really transforming that narrative has been something that has been close to my heart because I understand um, just how necessary it is and how it can build community. It builds community by keeping people alive, by keeping, mothers and fathers alive to teach the next generation. It's something where I never got to meet my grandmother because she died in her 50s of diabetes complications.
Mm.
I've lost cousins, I've lost all these people because uh, they haven't had the right trust. So really transforming the narrative around why go to the doctor, what does it mean, what does equal care and kind of changing the narrative around what healthcare is. And
Yeah.
after my trip to Rwanda, I pretty much learned that healthcare isn't the medicines. Healthcare isn't just like being able to administer some sort of um, chemical or see a doctor.
Yeah.
It's really, how do you build a community? How do you make sure that people are healthy, not by only seeing a doctor, but by living completely fulfilled lives? You know,
Yeah.
it's more than medication. So I came out of this experience just understanding just a different lens on what this can be.
Wow, that's very powerful. And besides, now you have a world stage because everybody knows you as Mbaku. And
Or
a lot of times actors, well, most actors that I know these days really appreciate that world platform like that, and the platform to be able to get to people, and people will listen to what you have to say because the age of Winston Duke has become is now, according to Esquire magazine.
Esquire magazine. Yeah.
You're covering Esquire. Tell me about that. What fun.
Uh, so the crazy thing about the Esquire shoot was the day I was supposed to do the original shoot. My mother passed away unexpectedly that same morning. We almost canceled thing, and 2 weeks later, roughly, I just remember being filled with,
That's
yes.
right.
So the shoot wasn't supposed to be um, at a warehouse. We did it like very quick and dirty. They just said, we're committed to you. We really love you. And we want to keep this going. So they rented a warehouse and made the shoot happen. Even when the original shoot was supposed to be this big production in the desert and all these things and and we got it done, and it was a beautiful experience for me that day. And the shoot ended up being funny that they say it's Winston Duke's time. It's Cora Penton's time. She always said, "It's for you, but graduation days are for me." Graduation days are for me. The celebration days of hitting certain benchmarks, that's mine. And that day felt like a graduation day. I'm no longer in school.
Wow.
It's one of those times where it felt like a graduation day, and I knew she would be there with her flag.
Yep. 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 I know she was there. Wow, what a story. That was truly moving. Are there any holiday traditions, thinking about your mom, that you remember, of things that you would do for the holidays, since we are in the holiday season?
Oh my goodness. So my mother was famous for making this Trinidadian black cake. Trinidadian black rum cake. And they would make the cake and then soak it for maybe, a week, two. Sometimes you'd make it a month in advance and soak it with the rum for that long. So every slice you got was just this beautiful gift of, holiday surprise, and it was, that's one thing I'll miss dearly, because even though, she's left the recipes, I don't think anybody could make her black cake the way she did.
Yeah.
And
Oh my gosh.
I'll really miss that this Christmas.
Oh, and I wish I could help you out. I've had that rum cake because I have a lot of friends from Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm like, oh, how good that is.
But
Oh my
is
gosh.
yes.
It
Trinidad and
is so
Tobago is a place of, you brought up that there is a lot of economic disparity and and need and healthcare need, but it's also a place that, as a result, it's really rich
good.
in tradition. It's really rich in culture. We have so many different traditions around the holidays, such as this thing called parang, which is our version of caroling, but you go around singing like these Caribbean songs and making your own percussive music to like the neighbors' houses and moving around. So, you know, I grew up with that. I grew up with parang. I grew up with something called harvest, which goes back to when the community that you're in would have their first harvest of all the crops and all the things. Everybody in that town would cook. Every house would cook in abundance, and then invite the people from every other town to just come and walk through and eat. So you would just go house
Wow.
hopping, and you know every community would alternate depending on their harvest. So the entire island would be like, okay, we're going to the the equivalent of, say we're in LA, they'd say we're going to the equivalent of North Hollywood or North Hollywood's harvest, and everybody from the rest of the island will go to that part of town, and just everyone's house is open, and you just come in, you
Yeah.
grab a drink, you eat, and it was community building, you know.
Boy, we need more of that today. That would be a great, and you talk about healthcare, and especially after what we've gone through with the pandemic, a lot of people are really suffering from mental health issues. And
100.
it brought on by a lot of things with the pandemic, associated with the pandemic. That, what you just said, would be a perfect healer for that.
Yeah, I
Does
think
that?
connections are healing. And that's another thing that I learned from my work with Partners in Health is that connections are the pathway forward to helping people get better. I keep going back to the statement of it's more than just, pharmaceuticals. It's Partners in Health really connects with the people that they help. In one case, I met this woman who they found her on the border of Rwanda, coming, I think it was from, it was from a neighboring country, but she was on the border and she was dying. She had HIV, and someone brought them to her. She was brought to Partners in Health. They started getting her like retrovirals and things
Mhm.
like that, and food. And she started getting better, but it stopped. So they said, you have all the medication, you're doing better, but you're not gaining weight. So she says, I feel really bad eating anything when I know that I have children and
Wow.
I don't know if they're eating and if they can eat, and I don't feel good eating. So what did Partners in Health do? Partners in Health reached out to her community, found her family, and brought her kids to her. They found a
Wow.
way to get her children into the country, unite them, and she started gaining weight. She started gaining weight. After that, they came to her, they said, like, what is it that you need? She said, I want my children to go to school. They found a way as an organization to get her kids into school. Her kids started thriving, so much so that they passed the local standardized test to get into one of the top schools in the whole country.
Wow. Wow.
They said,
What?
how can we empower you even more? And they helped her buy a banana plantation for the equivalent of $1,700. So it's not a lot of money,
Mhm.
by some of our standards here, but that is something that empowered her so much so now that she has a business. She's now a productive part of the community. And you could never tell that this woman is living with an illness that could take her life. That is how healthy she is. She doesn't have any symptoms of anything, and she's a productive part of her community now. And that's what healthcare looks like. That's what
Yes, it
real
does.
healthcare looks like. It's empowering people because health is more than just what's happening with your body. It's like you said, it's mental health, it's
Yeah.
communal health, and it's transforming the narratives around what healthcare can be and what healthcare can look like. And that's what Partners in Health, they're really partners in
Mhm.
health with their
Well,
patients.
I think they have found the best partner they could have found with you, Winston. Oh my gosh. I mean, you not only, this is not something you're just talking about. This is something I can tell that you live and breathe. And
Well,
it's,
that's why I wanted to go, especially to Rwanda, because we started the work, as I said, around advocacy, around um, vaccine work. But I said, you know, guys, if I'm to work with you, I need to see what you're doing firsthand. I need to get on the ground. I need to put my boots on the ground and see the work. So that's why I went to see, because they're in 11 countries. The
wow.
reason I went is because I needed to see their work, and they also started an incredible university in Rwanda. So they're
Yes.
teaching doctors. Yeah, they started a university in Rwanda where they're teaching the next generation of doctors. 60% of the class are women, and the education is free.
Wow. Unbelievable. We could go on and talk about this forever because I know you've done a lot of stuff in gender equality in terms of healthcare as well. That may be a whole other conversation because we don't have too much time left, but just speak a little bit to that because that's, again, what we're, it's for everybody. It does not matter. Should not matter.
100%. The way I usually approach gender equality is coming to it from a social standpoint, which is there's a lot that we can do interpersonally to change a lot of these gender norms. You know, we have to understand that 50% of our population, that's 50% of our population, are living under oppression that we can control.
Mm-hmm.
That we can control. And how do we do that? We can empower each other just by the way we talk, by the way we share information, how you communicate in your households. I always challenge men to be the type of man that the world needs,
Yes.
not the type of man that the world tells you you're supposed to be. You know, it's the way you treat your daughters, it's the way you treat your wives, it's the way you treat the women around you in romance and everything. It's how you
Yeah.
advocate for each other. It's how you share information. The disparity in the pay gap comes from a lot of times women not even knowing how much more men are making than them, so they don't even know how to advocate for themselves to get the thing that they deserve.
Yeah.
So it's sharing information. It's not a lot of lofty ideas. It's not an attack on masculinity. It's not an attack on anything. It's a call to arms to say we all deserve the same. We all
You're
deserve
so
equality.
right. I've got to tell you, look, this could go on and on. I am so proud of you and proud of what you've done. Clearly, your mother and your community, they did a really good job on you, Winston. Let me just say that. Okay. They
Yes,
did a
thank
good job
you.
raising you up, brother. And I'm just praying that we'll see a lot more like you. I know you're in Australia, just we're about to run out of time, but what is the film you're down there working on? Just
So
because?
I'm working on a film called Fall Guy. So it's based on a 1980s TV show, and we're doing a remake of it. It's a film, so it's Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, and myself. So it's a comedy action adventure around like the stunts community, and it's gonna
Oh,
be
I
really
love
fun.
it.
Yes,
I've seen the
yeah.
promos for that, and please tell Ryan Gosling I've got the biggest crush on him. I love his wife, I love his family, but I do have a big crush, okay? Because
Oh,
he's
I'll tell
Canadian
him.
like my dad. So just tell him that. Tanya Hart said that.
Yes, I'll tell him.
Thank you so much, Winston, for joining us
Yeah.
today. Thank you for all you've done to make the world, like I said, a healthier place. We will continue to follow you and Partners in Health and all the things that they're doing and really promote this as well.
Thank you
So
so much.
thank you so much and happy holidays to
Thank
you and
you.
happy new year.
Blessings.